Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, sister. Although you were harassing me in the pre show, I am happy to be here today to cut up a little bit with our good sis, Jessica Kennedy Vickers.
Yes. We are excited to have you with us this evening, Miss Jessica. How are
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good. Happy to be with my favorite duo.
you? We
Well, I'm
tried.
sure your real sisters don't want to hear that, but
They know what they said. Like y'all my favorite non-blood duo.
got you.
Yes, because the show is for sisters and misters and, those who love sisters and misters. You know what I mean? It's for all of us. The show is for us all. Yes. So hello, Glenda. Hi. Thanks
Hey.
for tuning in, Jody. Hey. Thanks for tuning in. In typical Hey Sister fashion, we ask that you like, follow, share, subscribe, tell people that they can catch us live on Sundays here at Hey Sister. We broadcast live on Facebook and YouTube. You can catch us in the replays there. You can also catch us on your favorite streaming platform. So when you have a long drive, y'all getting ready to go places for the holidays, tune in to Hey Sister on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast, listening to some of our conversations. You can also join the conversation in the comments tonight. That's where the action happens, down in the comments. So we hope that you will get some tonight. Now, y'all know we got to talk about some hot topics. Hot topics. Not hot pockets, but hot topics tonight. Why y'all laughing?
This is different. This is very different, but continue.
It's different. Oh, okay. I'm just trying to give the people a little something. It's December. It's the most wonderful time of the year and all of that wonderful stuff. And yes, it's a wonderful time as we get ready to kind of wrap up this calendar year. And part of that's gonna be part of the kind of thing we're gonna be talking about with Jessica's conversation. Like, honey, we gotta start thinking about ourselves. I do want to give a little shout out. I don't know if y'all saw this. I had to give a little shout out to myself. That's a hot topic too. I'm just gonna let y'all know. So on Friday, it's been a while ago. Remember, since I was telling you, I got to fill out this grant application, this business grant application, right? Oh, I got to fill out this business grant application. Well, child, look.
Don't get up too much now.
Woohoo! So, I was one of, there were 11 Beacon winners that were awarded on Friday. IKEA's foundation, their Beacon Award for business development grants for local businesses who are having a community impact. I was one of 11 who won. It was they had a lot of applicants. And so the fact that I was successful, I was very excited about that. Remember, I told you, sister, I got to fill out this application. And
Yes.
I won. Woohoo! So thank you, everyone who supports Vantage Point Coaching and who's a part of this Hey Sister family. It's truly a blessing. So I just wanted to say that. Yes.
Congratulations, sister. We're
Yes.
very proud of you. Jessica and I both support you in filling out these grants.
We understand.
Yes. We gonna be filling them all out because I got two more. I got some more I'm about to send y'all too. All right. Anyway,
Okay. Well, we didn't say all that.
not for me, for the project. Anyway, let's dive on into these hot topics. So the first hot topic, um, I'm just gonna say we're not gonna linger on this one because it's not the one I want to spend the most time on. But we got to talk a little bit about Lutelius Holmes Jr. If y'all don't know who Lutelius Holmes Jr. is, it is one Mr. TJ Holmes from GMA3, ABC News, formerly from CNN, who is caught up. He got like Usher. He's so caught up and is being investigated for having
Is he being investigated or what is happening? I haven't.
I think the investigation is ongoing about not the affair necessarily with Amy Robach, but other possible affairs and or HR violations.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but see the what oh yes, here you go. Previous relations on the job as well. So that's all we can say right there. Just take a deep breath and just I don't know what you think.
I think that there's an old saying, don't bleep where you work.
Mm-hmm.
So don't bleep where you work. I think at the end of the day, look, so from what I last heard, neither one of them per se violated company policy, right? However, the thing about doing any of this stuff, just like you and I, we often make jokes, but it's true. Like anything we say on here can and will be used against us in the future if we should ever run for political office or, end up going to jail or anything like that. Prayerfully, none of these things happen. But
Jesus, please.
well, yes, prayerfully, none of them happen. But you never know. I can get pulled over and say something crazy to a police officer, and then the next thing you know, they gonna pull up an episode of Hey Sister and say, "Well, on this day she did say this about the police officer." So I think it's unfortunate because man, oh man, they pulled up a video of last year, TJ and just talking, gushing over Amy and her husband, calling her husband like his good friend, and saying how they just had this wonderful love story. They done pulled up this tweet about his wife, calling that, or Instagram post about his wife, talking about the 10-year challenge, saying he was her 10-year challenge, and basically like if she left him at any point, it would be justifiable. I mean, that was kind of how ridiculous it was. I guess I should read it verbatim so I wouldn't, so it won't be conjecture. But yeah, I don't know. I like TJ so much as a GMA. I was so happy for him when he landed on GMA, especially after CNN. But then, because of all of this, I found out that his ex-wife was at CNN. So who knows what the real reason that he is no longer at CNN. I don't know, Lutelius. I hope you land on your feet. Just keep
Uh,
going on, TJ.
as Black Twiller says, with a name like Lucilius.
Jessica says she is being professional.
Yeah,
And
don't say nothing, girl. His name is Lucilius. He from West Memphis, Tennessee. We just gonna leave it right there. All right, now listen. This is the big hot. One of the biggest hot topics is Brittany Griner's release from prison, from a Russian prison. Wow, she had recently been convicted and was in a camp there, but they did a prisoner exchange between the United States and Russia. It was a beautiful thing to see her come home. It was as Sonny Hostin talked about on well, maybe it wasn't Sunny Hostin. It might have been listening to the Karen Hunter show, just talking about, her having to cut her hair and, people who have locks and have grown locks for years, like the psychological trauma and all that went along with that. But her locks were actually freezing and breaking off. And so having to cut her hair, and we can't even probably imagine and or fathom what she went through in that time there. Um, but it's also very interesting and curious that people, as Ply said, can y'all be happy more than one time? The well, what about Paul, and the what about this? And it was like, Brittany is home. Let's celebrate that and be happy that this sister is released instead of the what about. I'm not we want that man to be there. No, we don't want anybody to be in prison abroad. At least not me. Shit, I don't want to be in prison here. So I'm just saying. So I mean, y'all feel what I'm putting down? I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe it's just me. Y'all, what
No.
y'all think about
Jessica.
Brittany coming home? I think
Yes.
it's a beautiful thing, and we need to celebrate, and we need to pray for her mental health, for her physical health, because this is going to be a lot to get over for a very long time. I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's what I think. Jessica, what about you?
No, I'm with you. And the question about can you all be happy? I mean, her family cares about her. Like in this moment, they want her to come home. Like, you know, it's a horrible thing for everyone else who's waiting for their family member to come home. But theirs is coming home and they deserve to be able to be happy in this moment to get her back. I don't understand why we have a problem with that. Like I don't get it.
And
I'm
I
happy
don't
for them.
also understand these people who didn't graduate from nobody's school who know international relations, they know international law, they know State Department negotiations, they know, one of my favorite posts on this was from one of our former guests, Camera Williams. As he posted, don't worry, the United States is still the largest arms dealer in the world. We don't have to worry about the man being released in one.
Okay. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. I put on
Yes,
my.
we can hear you.
I. So this is why also Lutelius. I'm going to get in so much trouble because of this little Hey Sister podcast here. I was. I had the same like feeling. Like I read on Twitter, in which I just finally had to go ahead and let that go today. Somebody wrote, well, I mean, she was trying to smuggle drugs into the country, and it was like someone else was like smuggle, like it was a vape cart, sir. Like, come on, like
It was
that's a
leaving
reach.
the country. She had already been there, played basketball for you,
Basketball.
had did her damn service, and now y'all want to catch you up at the airport? That was some bull.
It was, but also it's we're not going to be able to make that comparison. We're not going to compare an arms dealer to somebody with a vape cartridge, but we're also not going to act as though weapons and arms deals don't happen quite frequently. Now, I am no scholar of international relations of any sort, but I feel like Oliver North had a whole situation when it came to some arms and illegal things. I feel like the Reagan administration had a whole thing about arms and cocaine and exchanges. And so I'm kind of like, don't get me wrong. I just wanted to ask some of these people, so should we have said, oh nah. So it's either release her for him or we get nothing. Nah, we don't want nothing. Like what, because from what I heard, Paul, Mr. Is it Whelan is his
Yes.
last name? Was never a part of the deal for Russia.
Yeah,
So
Russia
it's
was
like,
like, no, y'all ain't having him because
right. So it was like, so is the better option to just say, okay, well, we don't want anything? Or was the better option to say, talk about, let's release Brittany and let's talk about what other things can happen in the future for Paul and other Americans who may be still imprisoned there. So it's just crazy. To your point, well, let's be happy for this sister because at the end of the day, wow, I look, I wouldn't be playing with nobody in no other countries because they systems is different.
Listen,
Um,
Locked Up Abroad. You done seen it at least one episode. If you ain't seen it, that you watch one episode and you gonna be like, okay, I ain't bringing nothing. I ain't taking nothing.
nothing.
I'm not cutting a clipping of a plant. They tell you don't be bringing no plants, no
Plant.
fruit, no Nathan.
Right. I almost don't even want to buy anything in the store on that side because I don't know. But with that being the case, I just feel like we have to be able to say this sister did not ever deserve the level of egregiousness. Again, we talk about Handmaid's Tale. All I could think about was the colony on Handmaid's Tale. That is the level of prison that that she was in, that the bed, I'm 5'11" and probably couldn't fit in that bed. So she's 6'9". Like you said, had to cut all her locks, and was sentenced to 9 years for, again,
Hardly.
hard labor for a
Siberia cold.
right. So it's just really it's really ridiculous when anybody tries to do the what ifs or why not or but she, none of that is applicable because it was wrong in the first place. This woman had given so much to this country as a ball player. The United States as well as Russia as well, and it wasn't right, and she deserves to be back home, and the psychological impact is going to be far greater. The crime definitely did not fit the punishment. So I'm happy that she's back home. But I hope, in addition to these conversations about others who are imprisoned overseas, I hope we do not stop, because the conversation started about the fact that she had to go to Russia in the first place. As they noted, she was getting paid $1 million to play basketball in Russia. She is a superstar in the United States and gets paid $200,000. We have to have some real conversation about wage parity. And as the young ladies who were talking about it, who were played for the WNBA, said, we're not talking about give us a 1-for-1. We're not saying what the men make we should make. We're saying the percentages that they make, the percent of revenue that they generate and get back in income, it should be equivalent. So I hope that conversation doesn't end. But I'm happy that Brittany Griner is home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are tuned in live right now with Hey Sister. We have a comment here that I want to bring up on the screen before we go to our next hot topic. It says it was a setup from the beginning. Russian intel probably had been watching her since she began traveling there. They've always been looking for an opportunity to arrest a high-profile American to make deals. The opportunity presented itself. Absolutely. I believe so. I absolutely believe so. Thank you for sharing that comment, Arnetta. So the last thing I want to say, and this is kind of related to what the last topic we were talking about. Trevor Noah did his final sign off on the Daily Show. I can't remember how many years he's been on now, but he basically, nobody thought he could follow Jon Stewart, and then he made the show really his own, and with his own unique flair and humor. But if you haven't watched his final sign off, and he does this tribute to Black women, it is beautiful. It is moving. And as I said, because I had to reshare it, I said, I'm speaking for all the Black women, because like I know I'm speaking for all of us. Thank you. I felt seen. I felt validated, and appreciated, as he said. Because if you want to know about America, if you want to know about anything, he said, really, you need to talk to a Black woman. And I was like, thank you. Because we be knowing. That's Amanda Seales said, we be knowing. We be knowing. And y'all be missing all the good stuff because y'all want to be foolish out here. And he said, we're the only group that really, really knows. He's like, Black people in general knows when things go bad, we're going to have the worst brunt of it. But Black women specifically know that we can't mess around and find out. We don't have that luxury.
We don't.
And we listen. Whew, and it's going to segue us into this conversation with Jessica and about her career, because we don't need to be waiting around to find out.
Jessica says she ain't apping around to find out.
No, ma'am, not today. I don't know, ladies. What did y'all think about his tribute?
I loved it. I am all for people recognizing the power of Black women. I loved it. I saved it to my favorites on Instagram. I will be watching it repeatedly. Yes, I loved it.
Yes, I think
agreed.
We should carry it to the workplace and play it for folks. Whenever somebody messing with you, just be like, let me hold up a second.
Clearly, you haven't seen this.
That
Well,
part.
I will say this, sister. I forgot to say this in our last hot topic about Brittany Griner, but I think this kind of applies too. Uh Leslie Honore again. Can we just say how this sister will drop a poem and it just be so relevant?
A
If y'all
former
not,
Jasper Page sister, that sister can, she
yes,
got the magic on the words,
she
honey.
does. Listen, the word she doesn't miss. So if y'all ain't following her on Instagram or on Facebook, please do yourself a favor because that sister hit a poem about a Brittany Griner, and it was in a summary. Be silent. If you can't say congratulations, welcome home, sis, all the things. We're happy for you. Be silent. And I think what Trevor Noah's tribute did was also in effect it celebrated Black women and also simultaneously, without saying it, said, and if you can't celebrate sisters, you need to be silent because if it weren't for sisters, oh, we would be in a mess of more trouble than we already are.
Hallelujah. Yes, yes, and yes. Find those links if you can, sister, to both of those, and we can drop those in the
Sure.
comments. Yes, because we're going to transition on to our guest for today, Miss Jessica Kennedy Vickers. She is a marketing analytics and insight manager in the media and entertainment industry. But that's not where she started, y'all, because she actually has a degree in computer engineering and a master's degree in systems engineering. And we want to talk about how that engineering go into marketing analytics and insight. I don't know because I know the people would say you can't do that, or you should do this, or you should do that. But one thing we know about this sister is she is not afraid. And so as a self, or this might be the title Christina has given you, as a career adventurer, tell us what that means to you and tell us a little bit about your journey, your path, and what brought you to where you are currently.
Absolutely. So, first, thank you for having me. I am always happy to talk to you all. So, needed to get that out of the way. Honestly, I gave myself that adventurer title recently after reading up on some other people who like have also termed, themselves adventurers. But it really just came from the fact that I feel like your career path should be a really cool story. When you talk to someone at a random happy hour or work event, you should have like a really cool story that everyone wants to be like, oh my gosh, you've done that. And so that's really how I've chosen each and every job that I've done over the years. Like, I want at the end of my life it to be this, oh my gosh, like you built that, you did that, and this, like, girl, you were bad throughout your life. And I want to just be like, I know, I know.
Like, I thought I told you. I thought I told you.
And that's really just what it's been. It's been what will make for the most interesting story, doing something that's like really cool, that doesn't drain me emotionally, that I feel like I can really contribute my time and talents to.
Okay. Well, we have a comment here already. It says, "Can I be honest? This is a generational shift. It is amazing."
And
So,
that's my sister.
Hey,
hey.
sister.
So, do you believe it's a generational shift, or do you
I
believe
do.
that now we feel we have permission to do as some others have always done?
I do. I think it's a shift. I know.
Now, you ain't in this Gen Z, so
I'm not. I'm
okay,
not. I know the Gen Zers have, they think it's
they
them.
real serious about that.
They are. But I really think this shift began with millennials. I do, and I know millennial is such a bad word to people. They act like we are just
Well,
the
it's not a bad word with people who actually know the ages of millennials.
thank
If
you.
you are
Thank
still
you.
talking about millennials as if they're 15 to 25 or something.
Right.
Wrong.
Right.
Right. I think Gen Z is more vocal about not being loyal to a specific job or a specific major or whatever. But I do believe that this shift started with millennials. I do. But I think now Gen Z is taking it to a whole nother level. And I love it. I love that they're like, no, I want to do this. So who's going to stop me from doing it? I'm just going to go and do it. So I applaud them.
Okay. All right. Well, you recently did a TikTok, to what I understand, titled "You Should Be Job Hopping." You know, Chris Brown said it differently, but you know, he's a millennial too, so maybe there is something to that. He talks about them not being loyal. He's you know, it's you know, so you should be job hopping. Tell us what's that about.
So, not everyone wants to hear this, and I tell parents, everyone is always like, oh my gosh, Jessica, we want you to talk. You know, I want you to talk to my kids. Like, you've done so much. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to talk to your babies? Because you're going to tell them to keep that good XYZ job. And I'm going to tell them, forget that job, move on, find something new, find something more exciting. Like, I believe that everyone should be job hopping. There is so much power in not being afraid to try something new or try out a new company. It's interesting. It's the best way to go and find like something new and cool to work on. All of the products and projects I've worked on, I would never have gotten that opportunity if I had stayed working for my first employer. And I loved it. You know, there's nothing against them, but now I can say I've worked on cruise ships. I've worked on marketing campaigns. I've built a theme park attraction. Like, that wouldn't have happened if I stayed with my first employer.
Mm-hmm. And Jessica, let me ask this question, because back in my olden days, what the people would say was that if your resume had too much job movement, right, mm-hmm. that would be frowned upon. Mm-hmm. You would not be seen as someone who was desirable because you would be moving around quickly. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you well enough to know, as I said in the pre-show, that you've gone to a conference and gotten a job for yourself and your husband.
I have.
I've gone to the conferences and have not gotten a job for it.
You got a bag in the lane.
I got a conference bag, right? And I had to pay to be there. Yeah. So how has it been that you did not get sort of labeled, if you will, as a job hopper, or is that even a part of the conversation anymore?
Oh, it's still part of the conversation. Every now and then I'll have someone to reach out to me and they're really interested in my story, but then they say, oh, but I don't know if we would want to hire you because, you'll probably only stay with us a couple of years. First of all, you reached out to me. So you saw my value, number one. Number two, if you're afraid of me leaving in 2 years, then give me a reason to stay.
Right. Come on now.
I'm not opposed to staying. I've stayed with some employers for 4 years, 3 years. I'm not opposed to staying, but make it worth my time. Make it worth, my money.
Right. Come on.
Challenge me. Give me a reason to stay, and I'm totally fine with staying. But also, are you willing to miss out on me because you're afraid of me leaving? Not to be cocky, but
is it better to have loved than to have lost than never loved at all?
Exactly.
I keep going with the Houdini reference. A bird in the hand beats two in the bush.
And honestly, if you are, questioning whether or not I would leave, then maybe I'm not the right person for you. And that's okay too. I won't cry, you won't cry, and you can find someone that's a better fit for you and your environment.
So we got a couple comments here. One says they were saying that's a great question. Love the combo. I think the question you were asking about how people view the jobs. Another one says this is my 23-year-old son. He doesn't mind quitting the job. My husband be so upset with him. I'm a teacher and try to explain to him that it's a generational thing with him and people his age. The truth is, I think to your point, I think it's something that everyone. We don't have pensions anymore. Once they got rid of pensions,
it was no reason to stay.
There was no reason to stay. And so we have to change and shift our mindset. So I would say, even to those of you who are in your latter 40s, 50s, even if you're still in the marketplace in your early 60s and you're thinking about your exit ramp. I was having a coaching conversation with someone the other day. Look at the opportunities and okay, this is where I can add value. And if I can add value there, that's where you go. Otherwise, there ain't no need for you to just be having no job just to be miserable and getting a paycheck. Them golden handcuffs ain't worth it to your mental, physical, or emotional health. So, like Chris Brown said, they ain't loyal. Why you gotta be? And what's interesting is that most people who move, they increase their salary every time when they go.
Right. And then they can actually go back to some of those same companies and request more money. And you're like, but
I've seen it happen.
Oh, I did too.
I mean, my husband is an example of that. He left 3 times. And they brought him back 3 times because obviously they value what he brought to the table enough. But when you're there and you're going up and you fighting against HR and they're like, oh, we only can promote you this many times, or the bands can only do this. They give you all these reasons what they can't do for you. It's kind of like when the relationship you have with the cable company. They can't do nothing, or the cell phone. They can't do nothing for you existing customers,
right?
But you new ones, they give you more perks, more benefits. You leave and you come back, you up 1, 2, 3 runs. I don't know. Yeah. That's what I've observed.
Well, this is what so I don't know if we even talked through what your actual career progression has been, Jessica. I think we just
tell us,
jump in. But tell us about your career progression. And Demetria mentioned your education.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about the professor who had a different outlook than most, I would say.
Okay, so I am a graduate of the Jackson State University. With a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering. And when I was in school, my chair, Dr. Manzul, he always used to say that with an engineering degree, you can go and do anything. He wasn't, training us to be engineers. He was training us how to think. So he was like, if you don't want to be an engineer, if you want to go to law school with this engineering degree, you absolutely can. And I actually know one of my classmates who did that very thing. And so I always took that to heart. Like, I don't have to do traditional engineering if I don't want to. I can use the logic, and critical thinking skills that I learned and apply it to other areas. And as for my career, so right out of college, I just knew, I'm going to work for the Department of Defense. I'm going to save the world. I had, as most Black people have, they have, their parents are like, go get that good government job, get and keep that good government job. And if it's fed, oh, yes, ma'am. That is,
you're going to get them benefits, girl.
That is the pinnacle. So I went and got that good government job with the Department of Defense. And for 6 years, I was a civilian with the Navy starting off, and then with the Army, where I tested defense systems, developed some software, and it was really the government's sort of last point of contact before we would take ownership of a defense system from all of the big boys that Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and so have you. So I was auditing their processes, making sure that they were following our contract terms and proving out that their software worked. And then one day I was like, you know what? I kind of want to be able to talk about what I'm working on. I want to do something a little more fun. And without telling my parents, without telling most of my friends, I quit my job while planning a wedding. So I'm engaged at the time. I moved to Orlando with no job prospects. And I eventually started working as and I'm in grad school at the time. So just a whole lot going on. And I decide, oh, I'm gonna go be an intern with Disney. Now I just told you I left this good government job and now I'm about to go and be an intern at Disney. I told no one that I was going to be an intern at Disney. I was like, no, I know what they're going to think. I didn't tell my sisters I was going to be an intern. I was just like, see? My sister is like, and she didn't. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't really want their opinion. And my sisters will tell you, my brother will tell you, I am stubborn. And once I've made my decision, I've made my decision. And so I and so I worked for Disney for about 8 months in their revenue management department, where I was basically recommending pricing strategies for the Walt Disney World hotels. And from there, I got a call from Universal Creative, which is the division of NBC Universal that builds all the theme park attractions. And they were like, hey, we're building Fast and Furious Supercharged here in Orlando. Would you like to come be on the team and build this ride? And I was like, absolutely. Of course. First of all, it's back being full time, absolutely, I'll come do it. And so I have my name in an attraction. I can say this girl from Woodville, Mississippi built a theme park ride, and my face is on a poster in the ride, where I got to like play the part of a criminal, and it's that ride forever, and that's something that was so special to me. It's like you were, testing out aircraft carriers and making sure that combat systems worked a few years ago, and you just built a theme park ride. And then the conference that Christina talked about, I went to a Grace Hopper conference, was going to have a conversation about my husband who was looking for a new role, and ended up with a job for both of us somehow. I don't know, with Royal Caribbean. And so they moved us down to Miami, where I became the manager of digital delivery, basically the project manager for our Blue Sky team, which is, I said our, like I still work there, but for the Blue Sky team, which is basically the team that comes up with new processes, new experiences, and I was responsible for wrangling them together to make it get from paper to out on a ship. And then Disney came calling once again and said, hey, we have an opportunity. Right. Hey, big head. And they said, we have an opportunity to help our consumer products line of business, look at consumer data and make some decisions for our marketing team. Would you like to come, lead this effort? And I said, sure, that sounds cool. And throughout this process, I've been working with Christina to, bring our documentary to life, because of course I didn't have enough on my plate. And so that is my career.
I love it. And and somewhere along the line, we've been working together on this documentary, but somewhere along the line, we actually met each other, but we met via LinkedIn. So,
which is crazy to me, and I don't understand, because I will let you all know. So Jessica and I.
Well, that's how the LinkedIn connection happened.
Oh, was it? Did I connect? I don't know. It wasn't.
No. You posted something, Demetria, and then I replied to it, or I posted something and you replied to it, and then Jessica was like, "Do you know Christina Hill?" Like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Jessica and I, so for those of you who don't know, so this is, we talk about those degrees of separation, how they are really not that far. So Jessica and I, well, y'all know she mentioned she went to Jackson State. So we have met because Jackson State alum, I think connection here in Orlando, we had met through that. We had also met through, because my husband's a Jackson State alum. So let me just say that. And then we also met through the sorority chapter. So she had joined the chapter that I was very active and involved in. And I mean, you was going fast though, because you ended up going to Miami real quick after that. So and so we were connected through that. We had known each other through that. And I don't know how you and how she started following you on LinkedIn. I don't know where that happened.
Jessica can tell.
So when I meet an interesting person online, I have no shame sometimes about like reaching out to them and being like, we're going to be friends. Like, I don't know if you know, but we are now friends.
Yeah.
And I think I can blame my dad for that, because he does not meet a stranger. He will talk to a wall, a literal wall. And so, yeah, I saw she went to Southern. I saw she was in AKA, and she was an engineer who had transitioned into marketing. And I was like, oh, this sister's about to be my friend. Let me reach out to her. And then we just started talking. And I was like, listen, now we besties. And then she commented on your post, Demetria. And I was like, wait, y'all know each other? I'm not putting two and two together that your maiden name was Hill. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, how have I known both of you and didn't know that you were sisters? Yeah.
Well, Jessica, it's a lot of people who don't know that we're sisters. People who we meet all the time and they still putting it together. And yes, we have the same parents, both of them.
Both of them.
We've been asked. Both of them. But yeah, so LinkedIn can be, when it's used properly, can be wonderful. A wonderful tool. So here's the thing. You told us about your progression. You certainly have recognized what I feel like you recognized your worth. At the end of the day, you recognize your worth, and you were like, I bring value to the table.
I'm the prize.
I'm the prize. So how do you go about interviewing the companies that are interviewing you?
So, and I stole this from someone, but it's a question I always ask, and I tell any of my little mentees to ask as well. But the first one I want to know is, how do you spend your lunch break? Because I need to know what the environment is like. Because if you start telling me, oh, well, I don't really take a lunch break. Oh, well, let me go ahead and run, because one, I need to eat.
Right.
And number two, then that means you all have an environment that's a little too high strung for me, and I don't want to be a part of that. I need something that's a little more relaxed, and you all understand boundaries. So yeah, that's the first question I love to ask. And then second, it's a two-part. One, I like to ask, what brought you to the company and keeps you staying each day? And number two, if you were to leave tomorrow, what would be the reason you left? And I've gotten some very interesting answers by asking those. One, recruiters always love it. So if you're watching and you job hopping, or you're looking for a job, ask that. Recruiters love those questions. But two, I feel like you just get a real feel of how those people feel about the place that they work in. So, yeah.
I love that question about the lunch break, Connie. Listen, even Donald said I like those. Yeah,
going forward. Yes.
Yes. Put them in your notes, girl.
How you spend your lunch break, girl? Do you take vacation?
How about
here's who taking vacation. So you can say that all week if you want to, every month, day in and day out. But this one ain't.
I like that one. I may start using that.
Girl, got to.
Yeah, I love that. Those are really strong.
Really
questions.
good.
And I think, when we do recognize our value, when we do recognize that, an interview, they're bringing you there for a reason. They see something in you. We should be comfortable and confident enough to then turn that table and ask some pointed questions, because the thing is, the days of I think someone said it earlier, they talked about just the opportunities are so numerous now. The doors are wide open. This is what she said earlier. In the job environment we're now, doors are wide open. I'm in Mississippi, but my opportunities are limited here. Remote opportunities are limitless. So yes, remote opportunities are available. People are still doing relocation packages. And even though there are organizations and companies that are downsizing or that are laying off, I think one of the key things you said earlier, it was like, but I can think. And if I'm a critical thinker, I can solve problems. And you're always going to have a problem. And if I can help you solve those problems, then I'm the best person for that job. And I think that's where the magic is. And we have to really teach our younger people, but we also have to remind ourselves. And even I was having a conversation with someone the other day, back another shout out to Trevor Noah and his tribute to Black women. One of the things that we bring to the table as a superpower, which we don't even realize, not just the resilience, but we have had to always navigate complexities.
Mm-hmm.
We've always had to figure out things, like look at a lot of different things like a scattergram and be able to figure out what the picture is really fast, because whatever situation we're in, we always had to look like, okay, we coming in here and we looking and we figuring out some things real fast and figure out how we're going to move in certain spaces. Those are superpowers that companies need to leverage. And so I'm just saying that, thank you, Black women, once again, for being all that in a bag of chips. Yes. The Black girl magic. I don't know if y'all agree with that or not, but what do you think?
No, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, typically, especially when you start moving up in corporate America, as a Black woman, very often, too often, we get pulled into the most hideous of situations with the expectation that we're going to fix it, clean it up, turn it around, put some spit on it, and make it shiny again. So that's always sort of the expectation, especially as you move up. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody is just handing out high level executive positions to sisters or to people of color or people
and when
who
they
are.
do, it's either to be what I told y'all, Jessica.
What?
Remember when we had lunch? It's either to be the cleanup woman or the mammy.
Oh yes, I forgot you said.
Yes, very
Put that
often.
one on the screen.
Yeah, so it's real, really, and that's something we have to overcome a lot of times in the workplace. These are very unfortunate uh, uh, classifications, categorizations, mammy or cleanup woman, or we become so often we angry when we ain't. I'd be like, look, don't ask me why I'm not smiling, girl. I got to go buy groceries later. That's why I'm not smiling. I ain't thinking about you. But somehow it's always we're angry. So it's that we get late with these unfortunate labels as well. So Jessica, now when the people come call, how do you ultimately? Well, first of all, let me say this. I believe that if you're in if you're in college, you might as well go into a STEM career. Only because it doesn't even matter. And I count nursing as a STEM career. So I just wanted to
I
say
mean,
that.
it is science. I'm just
Because
saying.
some people don't. Like literally, I've had a friend, Nashana, who's a friend of our show. She said that she's like, "Well, thank you for saying that," because people will recognize her physics degree and call her STEM, but as a nurse, it's like, no, she's not STEM, some kind of way. Yeah, it's science, but I'm just trying to tell y'all.
I mean, both of us looking kind, like because the blood and
I know, guys. I'm just telling you.
pressure.
Listen, ask a nurse. Listen, the point is, I always suggest that people go into STEM types of career because, as we were talking about earlier about the hidden figures in the real human computers, child, I ain't even doing that level of engineering, but there's this perception that if you have an engineering degree, you're smart, which is absolutely erroneous. I know some folks with engineering degrees who are not smart at all, but I think it's a great. So I definitely encourage students. Is it going to be harder in college? Yes, but to your point, when it's on your resume, people see that and they make certain assumptions about
They
your
do.
ability to learn, and so you can jump into all these places. But anyway, so when you have an opportunity in front of you, how have you gone about evaluating whether or not to take that thing? Because you said everything sound, you were like, yes, I'll try that, I'll try that. But has there been a moment when you're like, no, that's okay? So how do you go about evaluating those
So some of the moments where I've said no, I would actually not like to do that. It goes back to, oh, this seems like it's gonna be chaotic. And now, as they say on social media, I know the girls like to tussle. So I don't know if I should say this one, but if it sounds like I'm gonna have to work too hard, it may not be for me. I just don't desire to labor.
things?
I
Yes,
don't
I
desire.
don't dream of labor.
I
That
want
is
to.
forever gonna be my favorite. What is your dream
I
job? Darling, I don't dream of labor.
I want to give you great work, and I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna give you my all when I'm at work. But I don't desire my all to be, my all. I don't want you to kill me every day at work. And so if the
Right.
opportunity sounds like, well, you know what, this sounds like it's too much of a mess for me, then I'm probably gonna move on. I've cleaned up enough things in the past. I don't want to do that anymore. Or if it seems like there's been a lot of turnover in this role. So another question I always ask, is this a new role, or are you, backfilling for someone? And if you're backfilling, why isn't this person in that role anymore? Did they leave the company? Did they get promoted? What's the reason? Because that will tell you a lot about the situation you're walking into as well.
Yeah. More great questions. More great questions. So when you say,
I ain't been doing right on my job
yeah,
interviews. I just be like, girl, okay, how much y'all paying? That's all good.
well, look, you got a comment here, Earl. Didn't get to pull. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Let me see if I can find that comment. Because it said it can't, can't
Oh
always.
yes, Jaime was saying that it's not always the grass isn't
Right.
always greener, so it can't be always about money. But sometimes Jaime it got to be about the change. But
Get your money.
well, let's talk about that. Get your money.
How can you do both?
Yes.
How do
find
you
a
do both?
company find a company who is paying well. Like when I was younger, especially now, I want my money. Like I want my money, but I want, a great opportunity as well. But coming out of college, it was about that check. It was about that check. And if you know my dad, you would know why I was about that check, because he is about his check. You are going to pay him. And then I don't believe in wasting your prime earning years, doing something for people who don't want to pay you to do it.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, somebody should have talked to me much earlier. I was wasting all the prime years just on, and I listen, my first job out of college it prepared me for life and a lot of things. But when I tell you,
But we get
I
desperate. That's the yeah.
well, I did. So
Mhm.
the crazy thing is, Jessica, you started off talking about, your parents and the good paying jobs, right? My
Mhm.
parents actually were like, you're good. But I had this impression. I have graduated from college now. I cannot live at home. I have to leave. I have to go somewhere. And my first job, I worked for a smaller engineering firm And look, I met incredible people as a result of it. I have great relationships as a result of it. But I was not getting paid a lot of money at all. And I would almost be, it's very sad to say, but there were times where I was almost embarrassed to say, like, I have a degree in engineering because I didn't want people to know, like, wait, you make how much? And you got an engineering degree? Now, the blessing was I went to school without any student loan debt. So, yes, amen, amen to the scholarships. Thank you so much. So that was,
And you maintain the scholarship, girl.
and
You
I
put in some effort, honey. You was putting
come
in
on.
some effort.
Listen, let me tell you something. For all the parents out there, if you have a child in a STEM major or anything, always take as many PE classes as you can take. If you've been taking French all of your life, don't switch to Spanish when you get to college. It doesn't make sense. You already know the alphabets and the numbers in French. Just stick with that. Volunteerism, if there's any courses to volunteer that you get some credit for, volunteer, honey. I knew I was the master of balancing the C's with enough A's to average out a B, baby. But anyway, so I just wasn't making a lot of money.
Talk to some people about that. That's the real hustle of college.
That is the hustle. Just know, balance your workload, child. It's okay to keep taking a. Look, we were talking about them calculus classes, and I love calculus. That's nothing. I love calculus. But my first calculus teacher was crazy. And, like, the whole class was failing, and these were honor students. And I was like, baby, if you had a class full of folks who didn't care, like, what would your life look like right now? And that's why it got to the point. It's like I can't even trip.
That's gonna bless somebody.
I hope so. Balance it out, man. Balance it out. But anyway, I'm getting off track. The point is, that first job, it paid off in life experience. It didn't in finances. And I wish somebody had been like, you don't have, but I was so ready to get out to say that I was on my own because I had graduated college, and you can't go back home after you graduate college.
And it's the curse of being from a small town that I understand it too. You're like, what won't happen is for them to know Christina Hill, Demetria Hill Sloan, Jessica Kennedy Vickers came back to XYZ small town. Trust me,
Right.
I get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love that you were like from the very beginning. It's like, I got to get this check because I did not.
That started in college. I was the person who, and one of my friends, Keontae, will tell you, she was hustling trying to get into dental school. I was hustling trying to make sure I graduated with a job. I was like, I will have a job. So we would go to class, we would go back to the room, and we were on everybody's website. She's applying, I'm applying for, I would look around the room. If I saw a pack of plates I got from Walmart, oh, let me apply to Walmart. I was applying to anybody I thought had any sort of tech department because I was like, I'm graduating with a job. I did. I graduated with a few offers, but I was just so determined that I did not want to graduate without a job. Sometimes probably too determined, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We have a question here. I think it's really good. Do you trust the responses when you ask those questions in those interview process? Do you trust the responses, and how do you assess credibility in an interview?
Sometimes I do. You can always tell when a person, is telling you what you want to hear. As soon as when I ask the question about, what would make you leave, and they say, oh no, nothing would ever make me leave. Like, this is the best place. Like, you can tell when their tone of voice changes, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
They're trying to convince themselves. This is the best place.
If their eyes get big, that means there's a telepathic message.
Right. So it's like I trust it until I have a reason not to trust it. So
Okay,
Yes.
very good. Well, before we wrap up for tonight, I know that you have multiple passion projects, and so, like Christina said, you have this engineering degree. You are a critical thinker. Don't have no problem hopping around, and you want that at the end of your life, that obituary. You said you wanted to read like, oh my gosh, she did all that. Or when you 100 sit in that rocking chair, you want to be like, yep, I did all of that, all of that. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you are passionate about, that you love doing, because you're not giving it, you giving your all on the job, but I'm not giving you my all. That's two
Yes,
different things.
No,
absolutely.
you getting 40 hours. That's how much you pay me for. That's how many you gonna get. That's not a
And I
minute
am
over.
serious about that. So my husband would probably tell you I'm passionate about everything. Like if you let him tell it. But honestly, the top of the list is film and television. It's why Christina and I are like kindred spirits. You know, I love storytelling. I love a good story. I love, hearing what makes people tick, and thus why this was a great film, and evaluating everything from the lighting to, oh my gosh, why did they say that in the script? I'm that person that can't just watch a show to watch the show.
Or
I
why
watch
does Lifetime not invest in their wig department?
right. I'm the person who's watching this show like, oh my gosh, they should do this, they should do that. And my husband hates it because he's like, can we just watch it and enjoy it as a good film? We can't. We cannot. But yeah, so I'm passionate about film and television, and I'm passionate about telling you why your favorite TV show sucks and why I can recommend something better for you. I'm passionate about books, like of all genres, as you can tell, and people. I've realized that I connect with people very well. I've had enough friends to tell me like, Jessica, you're the type of person like people just want to be friends with. And Christina has even said that as well. And that wasn't something I embraced previously. So I'm trying to like use that passion for people in other ways. But yeah, I'm passionate about a lot.
I don't hear you, Demetria.
I got another question here for you. What advice do you all have for teenagers who don't know what they want to major in or what career they want to career? My 16-year-old is stressed because she hasn't found her passion. Child, wait.
And
Uh,
it's gonna change. Whatever you think you're passionate about at 16, it will not be the same thing you're passionate about when you're 26 even. So
Well,
I would
here,
also say, I think to the point you made earlier, and I think I got this from my father. I believe I got it from my father. Got it somewhere. But the thing that what a college degree tells an employer is that you have the ability to learn. So if you have the ability to learn, then you can do just about anything. So, pursue as much as you can, because I don't know anybody, with the exception. Now, what I'm talking about, the undergrad level, right? Um, Once you go into a specialty degree or a specialty, like then you start specializing, that's different. But most people don't work in what their undergrad degree is in.
right.
Period. They just don't.
Mhm.
So that's where that is the proving ground of showing that you have the ability to learn and you have the ability to stick it out. So learn something, stick it out, try new and different things. Then once you get on beyond that, that's when the specializing starts to come into play. But even then, you will have pivots. I pivoted from
Mhm.
public health because I didn't like the rate and pace in which government worked. And so to do public health, you had to suffer through that, right? And I pivoted out of that. And I know so many pharmacists and even some doctors who are pivoting from like people who are medical doctors who like, this life ain't it no more. Like, you
Mhm.
know, this is not it. So I'm pivoting out and I'm going to do things differently, or I am, you know, doing something totally different, right? Or they have their passions as a side job, you know. I mean, what we're passionate about, like you said, at 16, at 26, and at 46 is all going to look very different. So be open to allow yourself to have all the things.
And I heard a couple of years ago, and this stuck with me. It said, "Don't ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up. Ask them what problems they want to solve." And I thought that was so interesting. You know, I thought it was a really cool way of not just like pigeonholing them, you know, on a certain path, but like, how do you want to change the world? Like, what problems interest you? And that could open up, you know, an entirely different world for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, and what I'd say is, and kind of how Jessica and I got to know each other is, number one, it's hard to know what you want to do because there are so many jobs that are existing today that didn't exist when I was a kid and that will exist when your kid is an adult that ain't in existence right now. So it's really hard to say what a job function or a role or something very specific in that way. I mean, when I was working at the Walt Disney Company with Disney and ESPN Media Networks, I became an account executive. When I was a student at Southern University, I had never heard of an account executive. I knew nothing about that. So, and I was in civil engineering. So I would have never, I didn't think that my life would take me to working at Disney and ESPN Media Network. So, um, one of the things that when Jessica and I first met each other, and she was reaching out to me, and I was trying to give her great advice as if I had some to give, but I the actual exercise that I went through when I pivoted from engineering and decided to go get an MBA was, Christina, write down 10 things that you like. Not 10 things that you want to do because you don't know all the roles that exist out there, but 10 things that you like and be broad. I like music, I like art, I like dance, I like television, I like what have you, sports, what have you. So I wrote those 10 things down. And then I bucketed where I saw commonality. And then from there, it was like, okay, so after it was all said and done, it rolled up into sports and entertainment. Well, how do I work in sports and entertainment? I surmised at that time that I either had to get a law degree or an MBA. I opted to get an MBA because the LSAT questions started to get a little funny to me. And so I went and got an MBA. And just so happens when I was at Tulane getting my MBA, there happened to be a contest that happened that ESPN was sponsoring for an internship. And I won the contest and I got an internship with ESPN. And it was because even though the school I was at was one that was known for most MBA's focus had a finance focus, I was very specific at that point saying, no, I want to work in sports and entertainment. I want to work in sports and entertainment because they knew that when the school was contacted, hey, ESPN is coming to town. We want to do this activity to this contest for students to win an internship. They thought of me because they knew I had already spoken that I wanted to work in sports and entertainment. So I would say to, your daughter or teenager, like, don't stress about finding a passion right now because that's, to your point. I mean, there are plenty of adults who don't know what they're passionate about.
Mhm.
But if you know things that you like, if you like fashion, if you like doing hair, if you know, my niece Demetria's daughter, child, she could watch a YouTube video and do some hair. Christina, on the other hand, that's why this bun stays consistent. So
She
if
did
that,
some knotless braid. I'm like, God, you really good.
Does she need a client?
Yeah, she should, because I showed somebody the other day. They were like, she did the parts too. Like she did all of them like even parts and braided it herself by herself. Yes.
right, she'll do nails, she'll do those things. So it's like that's what she's she obviously enjoys it and she's good at it. So if tomorrow she decided I want to go into become a hairstylist, I would say cool, become a hairstylist. I would still probably push her to be like a great hairstylist. Like I like don't be just in the kitchen, girl. Like let's they got some hairstylists making some real change out here.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, you don't have to. A teenager doesn't have to figure out exactly what they want to do right
PT Jessica, thank you so much. This is Mackenzie.
now.
Thanks, baby.
Oh, that's sweet. I think we should just end right there.
We should end right there. Listen, y'all been tuned in live to Hey Sister with our good friend and sister Jessica Kennedy Vickers, telling us about what it means to be a career adventurer. She has some really great, powerful questions that you should ask if you're considering going on whatever job interviews you may have. I know this is the beginning of the year. People are thinking about those switches and maybe being pivoted. It's ending one year, the beginning of another. So that's when people start having all these thoughts and conversations. And usually, probably mid Q1 is when companies really start hiring. And so you got some great questions that, just as they're interviewing you, you should be interviewing them as well. Find those things that you love to do, that you're passionate about, the problems you want to solve, and seek opportunities that way. Jessica and Christina, I'm going to toss it to you for final comments. Jessica first.
First of all, since I'm trying to do this TikTok thing,
Okay.
go on TikTok and follow me at same name at Jessica Kennedy Vickers. Listen to me fuss about your favorite TV show, tell you why you're absolutely wrong about your favorite TV show, and be funny in the process.
I love it. So yes, follow her there on TikTok. For those of you who ticking and talking, sister, what are your last comment for the night?
My last comment for the night is I want to say thank you so much to our good sis Jessica Kennedy Vickers for joining us. This has been an amazing conversation. I've learned so much from her, and I learn so much from her all the time. Listen, every time we get on the phone, it's a bunch of kiki and what have you and shenanigans because we are like kikiing and shenanigans is what it is. And because we have so much in common, I mean, having that engineering brain fighting with that creative brain, and you're like, I don't know which one is going to win today. So I really appreciate you. You've taught, like I said, you've taught me a lot. Every time I talk to you, I'm thankful to God that you were put in my way via LinkedIn, that you connected with me and was brave enough to reach out, and so
ask
thank
me,
you.
do you know Christina Hill?
Yes.
Hilarious. So as you can see, there's always hilarity.
It's always fun and excitement. So we love you, Jessica. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to meet your sisters in real life because there ain't anything like you. This is gonna be fascinating.
Well, look, and we didn't even let her talk about that man that left JSU and went to Colorado, because I know she got something to say. But
I think that's my time.
Y'all go back and watch that, because she gonna have something to say about that. We got a lot. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight on Hey Sisters. So Jessica, Christina, you hold the line, and we say good night, everybody.
Good night.